Anger is neither good nor bad. It's an emotion. And it's an emotion that can be very helpful. And it can be very harmful. And today, I'm going to ask you 4 questions to help you identify if you're using anger in a helpful or in a harmful way. So, come on in. Let's get started. Welcome. I am Dr. Tracy Dickens, a psychologist. If you have been here before, welcome back. Thank you for sharing your time with me again. And if you're new here, well, I'm so glad you found my channel. Something I've told my clients time and time again is we only engage in behaviors if they serve a purpose, if they meet a need. We only use anger if it's meeting a need, if it's serving a purpose. Today, we're going to look at the 4 most common ways that we use anger and see if you're using it in a way that is really meeting your needs. I'm sure you, just like I, have had one of those days, the day where you wake up late, then you realize you need to get gas, then you get to work late, and your boss is upset because there's a deadline that you just found out about, and then you get a call from the school, and the school says your child is sick, and so you pick them up, and you rush home, and you see your partner's there, and your partner's asking you, what are you fixing for dinner? And the minute you hear that question, what's for dinner, you just explode. You just let her rip. Now, in that instance, when you have your yell, you have your shout, it probably felt so good. I mean, that pressure that's been building up all day is just immediately released. And that is such a rewarding feeling. In fact, it's so rewarding that research says that whenever we have that blissful release of stress, it's reinforcing, meaning it increases the likelihood that we will turn to anger again whenever we are stressed to relieve our stress. Now, that's only going to keep happening if we don't recognize that explosion that we just had on our partner resulted in them being mad, sad, frightened, frustrated, or some other kind of reaction that ultimately leads us to not getting our need met, that we're sitting there just as stressed as we were before, and now we've added to it. So I ask you, is anger your go-to whenever you're stressed? Do you find yourself yelling, screaming, getting snappy, snippy? Here's some things I'm gonna suggest to you to change up that pattern. The first thing is you wanna just be aware of the fact that you are, in fact, stressed. A lot of times we're having all these physical signs of our stress and we ignore them. Think about those days when you do get stressed and you're feeling overwhelmed. What's going on in those days? Because if you identify what tends to be your trigger, then when those things start showing up, you know, hey, this is going to be one of those days. So let me be intentional about what I do with my stress. Intentionally take a break to step outside and get fresh air. Maybe go for a walk at lunchtime, or maybe you'll listen to some calming music. Maybe you want to go to the gym and work out, but you intentionally plan to do something that you have identified in the past that reduces your stress. Second way that we use anger is to hide intense emotional pain. And this emotional pain can be the result of a social situation. Let's say you're having a disagreement with a friend, or if you're in a situation where you are physically being threatened. You always have anger whenever something you value is being threatened. So whether it's your life that's being threatened or a friendship that's being threatened, both of those will generate intense emotion. In the moment, it's easier to cling to anger. Anger can be very protective. It can keep us from experiencing pain, and it can also hide the pain that we're in. The problem is we have all these emotions. We're scared, confused, rejected, hurt, sad, and we're only focusing on the anger, and we never address the other emotions, which means we're left with those emotions just hanging out under the surface. If you don't address the needs to those other emotions, if you just shove them down, suppress them, those emotions are still there. The needs are still there. If you're feeling betrayed, not doing something to address that feeling is going to leave you feeling sick. It's going to zap your energy. And so for all its protections, it really does harm us. I ask you, friend, do you tend to use anger as your shield of protection? Well, here's how you can start to put down that shield. First of all, we need to calm your system. And so some basic things that you can do to help calm your system are just give your body a little shake. That will let your body know that you're not being trapped. It'll kind of give your body that signal that fight or flight is not needed. Maybe go for a walk, go for a run, sit outside and breathe fresh air. Get a cool rag and put it on your neck. All those kind of activities are really great at turning on your parasympathetic system. And that system is designed to help calm your system. The next thing you want to do is name the emotion, because you can't meet the need, you can't address it if you don't know what's there. A lot of times our high stress and trauma and our anger is in connection to a person, and so we're feeling disconnected. And so one of the best things you can do is get connected with somebody. Call a friend, speak to a pastor, do some volunteer work, but do something that connects you to people again, so that sense of vulnerability, of kind of being exposed to the world, gets reduced. Before I go to the next one, I have a bonus question for you. How are you liking the video so far? If you're liking it, push the like thumbs up button down below so YouTube knows to share it with other people in the YouTube verse. And I appreciate you doing that. It really helps out a lot. And on to the next way that we use anger. We use anger to get attention. I'm sure you, like I, have been in situations where you are trying to get someone's attention. You are saying all the right things and they're ignoring you, invalidating you, just not listening to what you have to say. And after a little while, you just kind of lose it. You just get angry. I know when I was in grad school, I had a situation where someone kept tapping into my phone line and using it. And one day I had a horrible day at school. Rewind to number one. And I was really stressed out. And I planned to handle my anger in a positive way by calling my mom. And somebody was on my phone. They had tapped into my phone. And the phone company had come out 3 times to fix the problem. But yet they were on my phone again. So I stormed out of my house in the middle of a rainstorm, went to the payphone. So I'm standing out in the rain and the phone company picks up and I just lit into the person. I demanded to speak to their supervisor. It was a hot mess. It was awful. They came out and fixed my phone. In the moment, it felt so good to get their attention and let them know I was done. But then I just felt horrible. I felt absolutely horrible. Because here's the thing. When we use anger to get people's attention, it works in the moment and it's reinforcing because it works. We know it works. When I start raising my voice and using words that commands attention, it does work. But it's a tactic that you have to use over and over and over again because it's a motivator that only motivates short term. People just stop dealing with it. Most of us knows what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that. We know what it feels like to be the one who's yelled at. We know what it feels like to be the one that's blamed for something that we had nothing to do with. We know what it feels like to have someone talk to us in a disrespectful manner. And then to know that we have left someone feeling like that, well, it just leaves us feeling icky. Because we are designed for human connection and we have just engaged in something that creates human disconnection. And no matter how we try and justify it in our mind, our body knows we have just engaged in something that creates disconnection. So I ask you, friend, is your go-to to get angry when you're feeling invalidated and unseen? Because here's some things you can do to help you get out of that routine. First, since it can impact us on a spiritual level, recognizing that you're not beyond the scope of forgiveness or redemption. Go to God and let him know, hey, I'm feeling invalidated over here. I feel like I'm speaking in a way and people just aren't taking me seriously. And I'm responding in a way that's not helping the situation. I need your help. So let him into the situation. And second, oftentimes when we are experiencing that people aren't really listening to us, it might have more to do with our ability to set boundaries and communicate our needs and really stand in the space with confidence and securities. And in situations where that doesn't happen, you can recognize that that is something wrong with that person, and you can problem solve how to go around that person or go around that system to get that need met and not get pulled into a situation where you just feel icky after. The fourth way that we use anger to help us is whenever we've been hurt and we want to make the person who hurt us hurt also, when we are seeking revenge. I think probably a majority of the people watching this video have had situations where somebody has done something to you intentionally or unintentionally that was extremely painful and hurtful. Or they've done something to a family member or a friend and you stand by feeling very helpless that this person is in pain and suffering. And there can be this rush of, man, I made somebody feel the suffering and the pain and the anguish that I feel, that they're not going to get away with this sense of victory with that. But just like with the getting anger with attention, on the back end, it is very deflating. And ultimately, it doesn't take away your pain. In fact, it increases it, because now you have the pain of your own hurt and you just added the pain of doing something that goes against our nature. So is this something that you've done or something that you're thinking of doing, trying to inflict pain on someone else because they've done it to you? Well, here's what you can do to get out of that. First, from a spiritual perspective, I want you to take in the words from Romans 12 and 19. Don't take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. So really take that in. It is not our responsibility to get back at somebody for what they've done to us. And I have found that hurt people, which means there's a reason that that person engaged in that behavior towards you. And we are not in the position to judge. We don't know what's going on with that person. We don't know what's going on in their heart. And I'm not saying let's get them off the hook, but since we don't know what's really going on with them, whatever revenge we've cooked up probably isn't really going to address the issue. It's not going to prevent them from doing the horrible thing again. More than likely, it's going to make them feel justified in their behavior. So here's the best thing that you can do. Think back on a time in your life where you have been in pain and suffering. And now look back at that situation and ask yourself this question. How was that worst thing also a best thing? And this is what I mean. In graduate school, I had a professor who was sexually harassing me and other students and lying and sabotaging my research so I would have to stay behind and continue being his assistant. When I look back on that time, I can see the things that I walked away with that strengthened me. I developed a stronger relationship with God. 2, it made me a better therapist. And I also recognize I can handle way more than I believed I ever could. I also learned that I will stand up for my values and my beliefs, even if it means I will lose something that I've worked so hard to achieve. There was purpose to that pain. Learning how to look back on our times of suffering and recognizing that there are benefits, that there are gains in those seasons, and then expect that this current season is going to be the same way. And I gotta tell you, when somebody has intentionally done something harmful to me, at some point in time, I've always found out about something that's happened to that person. And because I've done my own healing, I can look at that person and say, okay, I never in a million years would have imagined doing that to that person. And I kind of feel sorry for them now. Wow. It just builds a compassion in you whenever you take that approach. And with that, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today and watching this video. Comment down below on what was helpful for you. If you liked the video, push the like, thumbs up, share this video with your friends and family, and subscribe so you can come back and hang out with me. And as always, choose joy. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.